Ole Miss beats down Penn State. They have a ranked matchup coming with the Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday, and we're going to be joined by Dalen Flowers. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Shark Tank Live. We're going to have fun for about 30, 45 minutes, and I'm joined by Dalen Flowers like I usually am on these Shark Tank Lives, and since New Year's Day and Christmas Day fell on a Monday, we couldn't normally do Dalen type stuff, so we have Dalen in now. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Everything's going well.
Did you go to the ball game?
I was in Atlanta. Everything was very fun. My first time at the new dome in Atlanta. It was beautiful, and it was, of course, a good time for me. A little bit of stressful at the beginning, but it was a fun time at the end. So we all had a good time.
You know, what was it like for you to have a beat down like that? Because we all went into the game not really knowing what to expect, but it didn't take long after an initial getting to know you phase of the game that Ole Miss kind of took over it. What was that like?
It was fun, man, and I think we got to see different aspects of the team in this game that we kind of were excited about a little bit, but we may not have gotten to see throughout the full regular season. I think Caden Prescorn finally had that Caden Prescorn type game that I think we kind of expected, that hype around him when he came here in the transfer portal last season. And I just couldn't be more excited for him. He deserves it. He's worked really hard for it. And I've been really animated about how important he can be to this football team. And I think he showed his true dynamics for this offense this past weekend. And I think he really dedicated to show you guys what you guys really may not saw this year, because I missed first 3 games. I came back, still wasn't 100%. We got him healthy, and that's what he can produce. We also saw guys like Caden Lee get some time out there, and I think that's important for us. Now losing Dayton Wade, we now see maybe what Caden Lee can do in the slot a little bit more. We got to see him out there, some action, which I thought was good. Even Hudson Wolf saw some action. I think just getting some more guys some reps was very important for us. I know we kind of would have, without Walker Howard would have gotten there a little bit. I think that's something that you and I wanted to see a little bit. It's all okay. And I did want to see that just because we know his talent, and we wanted to see that kind of be showcased a little bit more against real action gameplay. But it was a fun matchup because, I've been to a few road games this year, and even at every home game I've been to this year, the atmosphere was really different than the past couple of years, and I've been able to attend some games, and they showed out in Atlanta. I got there about an hour and a half early, and it was almost full hour and a half early before the game started. That's how impactful these fans are. And I think this team, coming off last season, I think especially on that outside world, we kind of got that delta of, you got 10 wins a year before, and you come back, you go 8-1, then you finish 8-4. They really are not, where we think they should be. And then we got to that point this year, and I think our fans have really bought into that, and they've showcased that every single weekend this year. And so it was really fun, man. I think this team has essentially bought into what the coaching staff has endured for them, and our fans have truly loved to see, something that started from the scratch and is now continuing to rise. And Lane said something during the post-game presser at the trophy celebration. He just said, we're just getting started, man. And I think that was an element for us to really understand, take this moment, enjoy it, but also know where we're headed in the future.
And I think everybody needs to put some Trey Harris respect in his name, because whenever they mention Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and those guys, Trey Harris never gets a mention. But I'm not sure I wouldn't take Trey Harris over every one of those wide receivers right now.
Yeah, and I think, his game just got, defected just a little bit at the start because he got hurt in that Tulane game, and he didn't play that Georgia Tech game the week after. So, he kind of missed a little bit of time in terms of if you want to look at stats. But, I think we've seen this all season from him. The first game against Merch, setting the school record for most touchdowns in the games. And then he continued to do that the first drive against Tulane when he got a touchdown for us. But he continued to show us that, we have become a kind of a run-dependent offense, but we can really have a really strong passing game. We have a guy out there that we know that can go get us 100 yards, can go get us a touchdown when we need it. And that's really important when you or in late game situation, when you need a guy to go to, you need a guy to go make a play, we know we have Trey Harris coming back next year to do that. And even with the weapons around him, I think that's going to be more beneficial for him. And something that I saw really quickly against Penn State was at the start of that game, they sent a lot of different blitzes, and I think our offense responded really well after that first drive. And I think that that 5 to 10 passing range was really important for us, especially in utilizing Trey. And so when we did want to go deep a little bit more, our options were more open for that. And I think that's important for us going in the long run. So it was a fun time, and Trey has really faced a lot of adversity this year, and he's really just continued to go up and go up and go up. And I can't wait to see what another offseason gets him with this team, and then we get to see him next year as well.
We have a question here from Jeff Ladner that was, do you think we keep Walker Howard? And honestly, we'll find out tomorrow, because tomorrow the transfer window closed. So if he doesn't get into the portal window, he's not going to. So I think Ole Miss keeps Walker Howard and Austin Simmons.
Yeah.
Austin Simmons is getting ready for baseball with the baseball Rebs. You throw 95 from the left-hand side, he's going to be all right, and Ole Miss is a pretty good place for him. But I think both of them are going to be fine. Like I said, Jackson Dart coming back to school is in no way a bad thing at all. No matter what the consequence would be of Jackson Dart coming back to school, Jackson Dart coming back to school is the preferable end to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think Walker leaves. I know if you're not very informative with the team on social media, you may not know this, but Walker has a really good relationship with this team. He has a really good relationship with Jackson Dart, really good relationship with Caden Prescorn. And I think, although he didn't really get to see the time that he wanted this year, and probably won't next year either, I think he understands his role. I think he understands that he has kind of grown a home here in Oxford. And I think he's really adapted to that. Now, don't forget that, even after next year, Walker will be here. He'll have 2 more years to play, and he'll have 2 years in the system where he sat back, he's learned, he's adapted, he's grown under Lane and Charlie. And so let's not get that forgotten either. But I don't think Walker Howard leaves. I think he's enjoyed his time at Oxford, and I think he's just going to continue developing here as well.
We have a question here from Blake Jolly where he's asking, do you think we go after Lance? As this means Lance Hurd from LSU. Mm-hmm. Yes, Ole Miss is going to go after Lance Hurd. I think Ole Miss has a really good chance to get Lance Hurd, and it's going to be an Ole Miss versus Colorado kind of competition. And if you want to win 10 games and play for a national championship and all the hype that's going on, if Ole Miss is going to get Lance Hurd, it is this year. I mean, it just feels like that's something that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely go after him. I think he was a name that I honestly think was kind of unexpected from a lot of the college football world. And so that name kind of popped out today. We're like, oh, okay then. And I think we have a good chance of him because we have seen different moves within our offensive line, and we've definitely recruited in the transfer portal within the conference really well. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we see a late night tweet from Lane tonight going on that plane ride down to Baton Rouge. So we'll see what happens with it, but I definitely think we'll try to contact them and get them down to Oxford as soon as possible.
Well, yeah, but it's a quiet period right now, so you're not going to get that tweet tonight. But it's going to open up something this weekend. I think Cole Rusk, I think that's his name, a tight end from Murray State. He is lined up to visit this weekend. I think whenever that happens, you're going to see a flurry visiting different players. And I think that Lance Hurd is going to, or DeLance Hurd, I've seen it both ways, but I think Ole Miss has a really good chance with him, honestly. I'm pretty fired up because if you look at what Ole Miss has done in the transfer portal in the month of December, you can tell that they have a plan. This is very targeted. So if there's any holes that you can notice on the roster, they can notice them on the roster as well, and they probably have targets in mind. So if they bring in Percy Lewis and they bring in Lance Hurd, which, by the way, both of them are 6'6" to 6'8", 340 to 350 pounds. John Garrison and Lane Kiffin have a type, honestly.
Yeah, they do. And I've watched a little bit of his film earlier today, and the kid has really good footwork. And again, he's just a freshman. He's still just kind of getting his feet wet a little bit, so he's still growing. I think that's a good chance for us to kind of see where he's going as well and kind of learn to see how we can keep developing if we do get a chance to get him.
Alex Hazelwood says Lee is going to be another diamond in the rough. He means Caden Lee. Was he a 3-star? Yes, he was a high 3-star, but he was a 3-star. I talked to Brian Smith because he came in right before signing day, and he had some stuff about Caden Lee, and he saw him in high school, and there's a lot of similarities to what he said about Caden Lee, that all the stuff that you heard about Mike Hilton, as far as him kind of being an alpha dog and taking charge and nobody can kind of stay with him. You keep expecting him to struggle as the competition goes up and he goes on every field and dominates. That seems to be continuing in college football because Penn State's supposed to have some dudes on defense now. They're supposed to be for real over there, and nobody could cover Caden Lee. So I'm pretty excited about what I saw in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, and I think he gives us a dependability on, zone coverage defenses. When teams are trying to keep the passing game in front of them, I think he's really good at getting in the middle of the field and getting upfield and breaking tackles. I think we kind of saw that a little bit this year, and even in that ULM game, he scored that touchdown. He has a little bit of explosiveness on him when he gets the ball and tries to get upfield. So I think that'll be important to see how we can develop him. In terms of, I honestly want to say a Dayton Wade type situation because he was a guy that I thought was really adaptive, can go deep, get downfield, because we could use him in the short passing game. And I think we'll kind of see Caden Lee do that same exact type of stuff.
Yeah, and during the Auburn game, when Jordan Watkins broke his hand, there was a little bit of a freak out in the Ole Miss wide receiver room because that position, they didn't want to throw Caden Lee in Jordan-Hare Stadium in a conference game to do that because they didn't know that he could handle it. Now, after this Penn State game, they were willing to do that in a bowl game. You know that he can handle it.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really big thing because, we have somebody here. Let's see. Let me think. Here we go. From Alex Hazelwood. Says our second string wide receiver core alone would make a top 15 team easily. Mm-hmm. And it's true how stacked this wide receiver room is getting ready to be. And Lane Kiffin did the same thing at Alabama. Jerry Jeudy and all of those guys, they were all recruited by Lane Kiffin. They were all his guys. So he knows how to recruit that position. That was the room that he kind of cut his teeth in with USC, recruiting wide receivers, a wide receiver coach at USC. He knows what he's looking for at the wide receiver position. You can just see talent being infused in quite a good bit, honestly.
Yeah. Also, I don't think forget that we got Devin Prince coming in, I believe, as well from FAU. He was I think a 3-star coming out of high school. I think he's
Devin Price.
And I think we got him in, and I think Lane has, of course, that FAU connection, but he also has a really good deep ball threat as well. So we'll see how we continue to develop him as well.
One thing that I'm really looking forward to, we got Chris Davis here talking about how do you even prepare for our defense? It's going to be scary. And he's, it's really a cop-out thing to say that. But when you think about what this defense could be and where it still could go, like I forget his name. I think it's Cassius Howell from Bowling Green. He's another edge that Ole Miss is recruiting in the transfer portal. He is a different type of edge, but he's another type of edge. We're talking about Pete Golding having the ability to match up to whatever you're doing. And this is a position that Ole Miss is, honestly, they haven't been in since the 50s.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the defaults I saw from our defense just over the year was, really tackling in the open field. And I think Pete has done a good job recruiting better for that. I think Tamarion McDonald from Tennessee is coming in, Keith Lawrence from OU, Lewis Moore from Indiana. Those are guys that really developed their game from being open field tacklers and have really successfully done that at their schools. And I think Pete saw that was a hole for our defense and went after some guys that could really fill those voids, especially with some of the talent that we're losing on the defensive side of the ball. I think it was very important for us to go get some versatile guys, from the line to the linebackers to the secondary that could really do everything. And that gives us a little bit more flexibility when Pete wants to do a lot of substitution, as we've seen him do this year.
James York with a compliment to Dalen says, Stephen, your show is the best. Love that you bring on other perspectives like Dalen and other contributors that give us a complete view of the horizon. No other podcast does this. Thank you, James, very much.
Appreciate you, James.
PTG Brandon says, if we can hold this team together throughout the rest of the portal, we will be dangerous next year. That's one more day. The portal closes tomorrow. So we'll find out who pops into the portal, but tomorrow is the last day that you can enter the portal in this cycle. And if you're worried about spring cycle portal players, they can't go to an SEC team. So tomorrow is the last day that a player can get into the portal and play for an SEC team. Outside of that, you have to go to another conference indeed. Go ahead.
I just want to put a emphasis on our schedule this year. I think it's very dependable for us to see how we control our own destiny. I think we have some fun games this year. I know the first 4 games aren't probably like the best for a fan vision, but I think they're given the ability for our team to showcase what we have on both sides of the ball. And I think we have some fun home games. Of course, Georgia will be here and Kentucky will be here. Kentucky has done pretty decent in the transfer portal this year, and I think Mark Stoops has developed over time something consistent in Lexington. I think we have a fun schedule, especially at the end of the road down season. So I think let's not get over our heads. And I say this because I know people are getting over, let's go 11-1, 12-0. That definitely is the expectation. But let's see what we can get first out of this team coming in the spring. So before we get to those expectations.
Dalen, one thing that's really interesting is for my whole life growing up, and I've got you by a couple of decades, but it's all something. It's like, hey, Alabama and LSU are in Oxford this year. It's a good schedule to go see. Yeah. Or only Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State is kind of a bad home slate. Yeah. But this year, just like I told Pratt Rogers, and I think everybody needs to kind of take this to heart, Ole Miss is the draw this season. Yeah. It isn't about who Ole Miss is playing. You're buying tickets to actually get to go see the Ole Miss team play, which for somebody whose first game was Steve Sloan's last, that's a weird situation to be in for an Ole Miss fan.
And I think that's a testament to not just what we're doing on the field, but what we're doing outside of the field. I've said this before, football in this day and age in college football, it's about, that rectangular field out there, but it's also so important what you're doing on the social media side, what you're doing with the TV side. And I think we've done a very, very well job of, maintaining that, outdoing other schools within that. I remember last season when we got our final transfer class and they did like the video montage, kind of like the Star Wars thing, I think it was, or something. And I think those are just things that are setting this program apart from other programs. We've developed the Manning Center was, put into place, finished this year. And I think that's helping us develop different recruits and such. This team has grown significantly under Lane Kiffin. And I think his barriers, honestly, just getting started. I really don't even think he's really fully got to touch his feet in the water yet here. And I think we're going to continue to see the improvement of it from each element, because we've seen so much change within this team over the last couple of years, and we're still consistently on the same path that Lane wants to guide us on. And I think that's really what is important, because you see so much in college football with coaching changes, player changing. It's just a lot of changing in around a program. And it's hard for coaches to continue to develop a consistent plan and consistent success. And we've seen that here. And so I think that's a really test to our coaching staff and what Lane has been able to do here.
Yeah, exactly. Pat 0311 says, what are the chances we see any of the incoming freshmen get significant reps, or will it be a year to learn from transfers and returning starters for the most part? You have to be a special freshman to get a lot of reps under Lane Kiffin. You have to be Quinshon Judkins or Suntaran Perkins or those guys to get those reps. I think they're going to play a little bit, but most of Ole Miss's best players that they signed are defensive linemen, and Walter Nolan, Princely Amonmielen, Tyler Barron, Jared Ivey, Xavion Harris. Those guys are going to get the primary reps. So you're kind of going to get to learn from them. You might have a situation where most of them just redshirt, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't think that a lot of these incoming freshmen not getting too much of a opportunity to be starters is a bad thing necessarily. I think it's a chance to see them grow, how they can grow mentally as well, and learn the insides and the out of the college game. I think also don't be a surprise if we do, Steven just said a little bit more of the D linemen getting a chance to kind of, rotate in and out throughout, especially those first couple of games in the season to see how they can work. But I definitely don't say it's a bad thing, but I don't think that, they'll get too much of a starting chance. And that's just basing off the depth and the talent that we currently have coming in on this team right now. And that's no knock to any of our freshmen. I just think it's a chance that we're really trying to put our foot on people's throats, and we have to see what we can work with before we get to that element.
MXWE says, Steven, did the guy on Locked On Nittany Lions block you on X? No, he did not block me. He may have muted me, but he did not block me because I can still read his post. But I will say this, and I thought Auburn fans were some of the whiniest fans that you run across. Penn State fans, they take the cake. My goodness. They're still coming at me like 4 days later trying to, hey, no, that was not a good win. That was not a good win. And whenever you say it, it's like, it doesn't matter that it was Penn State. It matters because of the number that was in front of your name and what it means for 2024. This isn't about you, but you want to make it about you so you can tear down who you lost and make yourself feel better. And they just keep coming. It's exhausting.
I missed what you said there. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I missed that what you said. I think I kind of buzzed out for a second.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I was griping about Penn State. Nathan Rufford says, did we give up on the running back from Oregon that entered the portal? No, I don't think we did. I think it's going to be kind of tough sledding because of Quinshawn and maybe Ulysses Bentley coming back. But there's a rumor that Dowdle, whenever the visits can happen, he's going to visit Nebraska.
Yeah.
Is the next one. The fact that he didn't commit on his visit to Mississippi State probably means he's not going there. So now that he's visiting out-of-state schools, it will be interesting. But, yeah, Nebraska seems to be in his future for a visit.
Yeah, and I think Matt Rule is in I wouldn't say in dire need of a running back, but they need to fill that running back hole. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get him out there to Lincoln and try to grab him.
Will says, can't wait for 24. Never been this excited. The talent level is insane. We've been bleeding red and blue for a long time. Lots of Ole Miss fans are going down this road. Trey Stedman said, will Pete be the best defensive coordinator that Ole Miss has had? And part of you says, well, no, because if you remember, the 1959 football team did not give up a defensive touchdown all season. So you can't really say the best defensive coordinator they've had when they didn't give up a defensive touchdown one season. So I think it's going to be good, but we'll see exactly how it goes. I don't know how to say that. Do we need to worry about Aiden Williams transferring because of the league? They play different positions. Aiden Williams is the heir apparent to Trey Harris. View him like that. And he's sitting there learning behind that, but that's the position that they're in. Miss Tracy Ivy, Hottie Toddy, Shark Tank Live, avid viewer of the show. We always like it when Miss Tracy pops in. David Golick says, enjoy the show. Keep up the good work. David and Ann from Myrtle, Mississippi. James York, what do you think our biggest challenge is for 24? And if you look at the schedule, there's a couple of landmines that you need to avoid. Mm-hmm. Lane has done traditionally a pretty good job of getting people ready to play. He doesn't lose games that he's not supposed to. I think the biggest challenge for 24 will be confident but not arrogant. I think that is the challenge in 24, because you hear all the time, act like you've been there before. Ole Miss hasn't been here before.
Yeah.
And so they don't know how to act. So I think we need to look at body language and what's going on. I think confident but not arrogant is the path challenge in this season.
I like that.
James McDonald says, look out for Lance Hurd. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And we're getting a visit from a tight end starting Friday. My wife says watching Dalen grow has been cute. This show is really good. It has been and will be a lot of fun. Thank you very much, Will. And congratulations, Dalen.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Alex Hazelwood said, would love to see the Grove Bowl packed. I'm definitely going to be there. I think the Grove Bowl in years past, it's been 5,000 to 15,000 people in the stadium to where they just open up one side and all of that. I think this year 30,000 is a legit possibility for as excited as people are going to be.
Yeah, and I think, this year I saw a little bit of a jump this year, and I just think that was because of the Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard coming in and that hype around that transfer portal class. We're going to see that same instance here this year. They want to see what we kind of doing with our development with our players. And also, I think just the buy-in of what we're seeing right now, I think everyone's in belief that we have a really good chance to do something that's never been done before in Oxford this upcoming year. And so I think everyone's really trying to buy into something that's maybe once in a lifetime. So we'll see what happens.
We got Jerry Morey asking, said Marcellus Barnes, elite speed cornerback, committing tomorrow. Any chance Ole Miss gets him? None. He's going to Syracuse. Basically what happened, he was between Ole Miss and Georgia. Georgia's cornerback or defensive backs coach went to Syracuse. That is where that comes from. James McDonald, Pete Golding has a tight relationship with Hurd, a 5-star. Colorado's in the mix also. Thank you very much for that. Pat0311 says Penn State fans have been a constant headache since the game for sure. Yeah, it's been exhausting how almost needy they are. Oh my gosh. But it's been hilarious. I will say that. Tampa Zeke says, I've gotten to the chat late tonight. Actually just got home from Atlanta today. Such an incredible weekend for Rebel Nation in Atlanta. Yeah, Dale was there too. Pratt talked about it. I interviewed him earlier today. The Rebels had a very good showing. It looked like it was about 50-50, maybe 60-40 Ole Miss in the stadium. Obviously, by midway through the third quarter, it thinned out a little bit because you people that were at the game could not see the TV shots because whenever they showed the Penn State sidelines, those boys just wanted to go back to State College, and they understood that they could not win this game. It was just all in their face. So y'all might have been freaking out in the fourth quarter a little bit, worried about a comeback happening or something like that. We were looking at the body language on the sideline. Penn State wasn't going to score more than one time. James McDonald says, hotty toddy from Alabama. Happy New Year. Mike Vandegrift says the bullseye are on the back. Yeah, everybody's going to be gunning for Ole Miss. And you know what, Dalen? Ole Miss won the national championship in baseball, and then the next year won, 6 SEC games? Yeah. Because everybody was jacked up, and Ole Miss was the game that was circled on the schedule, and then injuries and everything snowballed through it. I think you will see teams getting up for Ole Miss and getting a level that you're not used to.
Yeah, and I think that just comes with hype, and I think that comes with the circulation of, you have a larger than life, coaching staff and team now. And I think you kind of see that development. You can kind of look at Colorado. Deion comes in and brings, one of the biggest transfer class ever. I think was the biggest transfer class ever, and now they have just one of the most talked about probably teams in the country now, and they just have kind of seen that kind of be a shot on their backs because of it. And I think you're going to kind of see that this year, and especially from other fans and within the conference, because they're not used to us being in this position, and it honestly scares them a little bit because we're itching up that wall and we've never done that before. And I think these people are really starting to see this as a realization that this can be a real thing. And so we'll see. But I'm definitely excited about it because I get to see the different aspects from different fans. And, you never really get to be in this position when you're an Ole Miss fan. And now we're here and we're kind of enjoying it. So we're just going to sit back and continue enjoying it as well.
Nathan Rutherford says Walker and what he's done with the Grove Collective is nothing short of amazing. Everybody needs to join. I am working with setting something up with the Grove Collective through Locked On Ole Miss. Probably news to come sometime in the next couple of months. but we are working on something that's a little bit different as a partnership. Not necessarily a partnership, that's wrong to say, but a way for the Locked On Ole Miss to help out the Grove Collective. Nathan Rutherford says, thank you for the show. I truly enjoy it, from Ripley, Mississippi.
Oh, I also want to say one thing. I talked about, sorry to interrupt you. I talked about some players getting more of a chance. TJ Della, we got to see him this weekend as well, and I thought he just kind of fit into the system really well. And I think we switched him out a lot with Suntarian, and I think TJ's more of like a zone kind of linebacker guy. But we also used him on the rush a little bit, and so I think he was very versatile. And I think that also gave Suntarian a little time to just get a quick breather and get back out there when we needed him. So I thought that was a really good key that I don't know if people really noticed about this weekend. I know people were talking about him coming back, but I don't know if you saw just kind of how important he was to be out there for our defense.
TJ Dudley was a man out there. Yeah. He played like 58 snaps or something like that on defense. And they did use him as a jack type player. He was honestly a Cedric Johnson replacement at time. I think during next season, he's going to be lining up besides Chris Paul, and they're going to be playing in the middle of the field, and they're going to be patrolling behind that linebacker group, and it's going to be something to see.
Yeah.
Kenneth Ford says, Stephen, you better be careful. These young kids may get your job someday. LOL, they add a lot to your podcast. I hope they get my job someday. That's one of the reasons we're doing this, is so they can get the experience. Yeah. There's nothing. Dalen has his own podcast. The Dalen Show exists, and you should check him out on all the things. I think, when are you going live? It should be pretty quick, right?
We will be starting to list in 3 weeks. Season 4 will be starting to list in 3 weeks. Yes, sir.
All right. See, yeah, check that out for sure. David Gibson, I don't know why, but I have a feeling John Wayne Oliver is going to be a surprise freshman this year. David, I probably agree with what you're saying. I don't think an offensive lineman is going to play in year one. They just generally do not. PTT Brandon says, what are the chances we get Burnside to announce for us tomorrow? I think 0. He's going to Starkville, and before anybody knows what's going on and everything, whenever Ole Miss got Deion Smith, it probably cost them Braylon Burnside. It just is what it is there, because Burnside and Harrell, they can go to Starkville, be in the Jeff Lebby offense, be the guy from day one, and kind of be something they want to be. And honestly, Ole Miss needs to keep recruiting the kid, have a good relationship with the kid, because there's always a chance we can call him up after his sophomore year anyway. I mean, just like Malik Heath. Blake Jolly says that he was told that Evan Stewart was at the Peach Bowl. Have you heard anything about it? Sanders situation. I would rather have him in the mix with us than against us. Rumor is today that Tennessee backed off of Evan Stewart. That's where everybody assumed that he was going. Now, I'm not saying he's going to Ole Miss, but Ole Miss was on that list of 4 teams. I think you should really keep an eye on Oregon, honestly. Just a gut feeling there. What do you think?
I don't know too much about Evan, but I know that we have continued a different recruiting information about him, but I don't know too much about him, so I won't speak on that much about it. So I'll let Stephen handle that one.
Yeah, I got it. Head Pegues, this is JJ Pegues' dad, I do believe, said, let's go Rebs, hotty toddy, getting ready for 2024. Mike Vandegrift says, second best record in the SEC. Mike, you might be selling Ole Miss a little bit short. I mean, I'm just saying. Kenneth Ford said, HYDR from Germantown, Tennessee. Justin Bailey says, actually just got done watching your instant overreaction for the Peach Bowl. Man, those Penn State fans. Hashtag go Pickles. That's Justin Bailey right there. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles. Check them out. If you want some hot pickles that taste good, they're not overly hot, but they are fantastic. Try a Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickle. If you go into the description, the link to order yourself a jar is in there as well. But it's hashtag go Pickles, hotty toddy. Trey Stedman says, would you say winning 29 games in the last 3 seasons helped with the recruiting? Yeah. It's like, what is that from Bull Durham? It's like, I love winning. It's like losing. Yeah, that type situation. Is Judkins playing the money game? The portal window closes tomorrow.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. I figure tomorrow at about noon, and this is just my gut feeling, there's going to be some sort of a graphic or something. Yeah, let's go, getting ready, momentum type stuff, because I don't think Judkins is going anywhere.
Yeah, and I think the announcement officially from Jackson coming back was kind of that stamp on that as well, that Judkins would be back.
Yeah. Yeah, the rumor I heard was I heard both names at the same time a couple of days ago. So we'll see exactly how it goes. Hopefully we can host Penn State next year so they can't make excuses. Honestly, I want to go to Happy Valley at this point. Let it be a whiteout game, the whole 9 yards. Have to stay the Penn State fans in Atlanta I met were cool and weren't like the whiny excuse makers online. I'm glad, because there would have been a lot of fist fights. There weren't. Fans that go to the games are not like the fans that play internet tough guys.
Yeah.
They're not, because they understand if you go to a football game looking for trouble, you will find it. So they have a different mindset. So yeah.
Especially with SEC fans.
Yeah, and Penn State has played LSU before, so I'm sure they're pretty cordial towards SEC fans in general. Alex Hazelwood said the next step I feel is to have at least a home game in the playoffs. Want to win it all? Yeah, that seems to be the step. What's your goal for 2024?
Oh, man, it's a lot. Honestly, I just think I think hosting a playoff game is probably my top goal for this football team. I think that's just. I think Oxford has, and the Grove has, of course, been nationally known as one of the best tailgating groups in the country. But I think with that game, with that recognition, with that type of TV stance, it's going to bump things up to another level. And I think that would just build everything else up from the ends. So I think that would be fun for us. And I would, one of my goals as well, I don't think that this is a testament to anything, but I would love to see Jackson Dart be a Heisman finalist in New York at the end of the year.
That'd be real cool to have him on the stage.
Yeah.
JR8 says Penn State is another self-described blue blood that is in denial. I guarantee you that the Penn State team and those fans have few fans who are living in reality and are truly shocked. Ole Miss better start embracing being the lead dog. In the past, Ole Miss has not done a good job meeting and exceeding preseason expectations. Like Chucky said, it's time. Yeah. Penn State reminds me a little bit of Auburn. Their fan base that happened online, there's a lot of Auburn in that fan base. But you're right. Ole Miss definitely needs to be prepared for what's coming. James McDonald says the best live show for Ole Miss fans anywhere. Thank you very much, James. Jerry Moore says 50 more subscribers for 6,000. That's right. Go down below, hit subscribe on the website, get to 6,000. Once we go over 6,000 subscribers, we were going to unlock remote broadcast. Now, I'm not going to do it every day, but for a situation like the Under Armour All-American game, I will do a show from the Under Armour All-American game. If Ole Miss hosts a home playoff game, I will do a show from Oxford, Mississippi at the ball game. That is what I'm talking about. But so it won't be every day, but we are going to expand our repertoire. If we hit 7,000, by the way, call-in show. Just saying, call-in show. So we'll see exactly how that goes. But 6,000 means remote shows will be unlocked.
I'm excited for that right there. I have a good buddy named Walker. I think should be watched tonight. And he found me at a football game and was a big supporter of the show. And he was like, man, we got to get Steve into Oxford one of these years. And I'm like, I'll see what I can do. So to hear you say that, just to maybe see it come into intuition makes me really happy to hear that.
Yeah, if Ole Miss hosts a playoff game, this is my plan. Okay, I'll let everybody know my plan right now. If Ole Miss hosts a playoff game, I want to set up through the athletic department to where we might not be on the Grove stage. We might be out front of the Turner Center or something like that. But give me some place with internet. I'm going to set up a tent, and we are going to have a Locked On Ole Miss tent. I'm going to do a pregame show before there. We're going to do a post-game show after there, and we are going to have a good time, and I'm going to get to meet all of y'all. So that is my goal right now, is to we can go to do that at a hosted playoff game.
Yeah.
I originally was planning on the Oklahoma game, but Ole Miss is like, okay, no, need to save the money to get up to Oxford and all that, and do that we need to get the playoff game, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I hope we get that opportunity, and I think that there's so many fans that are in Oxford, and even the people that I think are not in Oxford but will be in town for, a playoff type setting will come and get to enjoy that, meet you, and just enjoy a good time in town.
Daniel Mason says, hey, from Austin, I've been following your shows for a couple of months now, pretty much daily. Thanks for your hard work, professional insight, and positive attitude. Thank you very much, Daniel. It's a lot of fun. I would not do this if it wasn't fun. That's the whole purpose of this thing, is to make following Ole Miss sports fun.
Yeah.
Pat 0311, we need some Locked On Ole Miss merch. I want it, but Locked On doesn't have it, and I'm not allowed to sell it myself. But you're absolutely right. We do need something.
Yeah.
And figure out what's going on, because like people that help me out and everything, they have a polo, but I'm not allowed to sell that stuff at the moment. Deadshot says, hotty toddy from Tupelo. Pat 0311, we need some Locked On merch. That's just so happens that's my business. I would love to do it. Like I said, Locked On just will not let me do that. What's the word on Judkins? We'll find out tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day of the transfer portal window. He's not going anywhere, but I mean, it'll be official tomorrow one way or another. Shout out whoever that Nathan Rutherford guy is. That's my name too. We got 2 Nathan Rutherfords in the stream. You know what the odds of that? Good grief. Jared Ivey, I was happy to see him win defensive MVP. I am always happy when Jared Ivey wins a defensive award, because that makes Miss Tracy happy, and I'm always happy when Miss Tracy is happy on our streams.
Yeah, and I'm proud of Jared Ivey. I've been a big supporter of him from the start of the season, and I kind of watched him see a big improvement in the spring practices this past spring. And so I saw him having a big year coming, and I was fully excited to see it come into fruition.
This is Chris Paul's dad. He says you can call him Pooh Paul because his mom loves that, and he's planning on changing his name. I'm telling you, this is a player's parents stream tonight. But thanks for watching the show, Mr. Paul, very much. And I will call him Pooh Paul from now on. Mason Pop says Jay Dart for Heisman. Transfer O-line, LT from LSU. That's the rumor at the moment. Tampa City was
basketball weekend as well as too for us.
What's that?
Big SEC basketball weekend for us as well.
Oh, that's a massive one. I take this off. I have it right there on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Number 22, Ole Miss. Number 5, Tennessee, Saturday. Going to be a massive matchup. I've got Tim Thomas on. We're going to start talking about that towards the end of the week, and getting ready to go. This honestly is a big basketball game, because, in my opinion, Ole Miss needs to, they're either going to come out with all the confidence, win the game, or they're going to get popped. And either one of those is a good recipe. They need either one of those to happen.
Yeah. I think it's a true test for us. I'm honestly happy this game is at Tennessee and not at home for us. I think that is a good beneficial to see where this team stands in terms of getting ready to go into the next step of March. And I think we've developed really nicely. Of course, going through the non-conference schedule, but now this is where you got to wipe the sweat off your face and really get tough and ready for it. And I'm excited, man. I'll be back home in Fayetteville this weekend for the Arkansas-Auburn game, so I'll be there, and then I'll get out and try to catch the games at a bar. And so I'm excited. I think this is just another testament to where Keith Carter has done a magnificent job with this athletic program, and Chris Beard has quickly brought in a different vibe and culture here, and I think everyone is really excited to see where we go in the next future.
Really cool indeed. Mr. Paul, Chris Paul's dad, said when Coach Saban said he would not call him Pooh, that killed that visit for his ma. So there you go. That might have been the secret for Lane Kiffin getting him. is the fact that Nick Saban would not call him Pooh. So, yes, we will call him Pooh from now on. Trey Stedman, the offense will be so hard to stop next year. What would Dart have to do better to win the Heisman? He needs to use all the quadrants of the field. If you see what happened against Texas A&M, LSU, and Penn State, Jackson Dart will win the Heisman. That's how sure I am. If he can replicate that 12 times, Jackson Dart will win the Heisman. If he plays like he did against Alabama, like he did, honestly, against Mississippi State, which he was injured, I understand that. But if that is the type of performance that happens, he will not. But if he plays those wide open games and does those things, he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's wrap up real quick and get out of here. Justin Bailey from Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles. My goal is definitely having Ole Miss host. That would be massive. And let's see. Oh, how about this? Douglas Sherman. Jared Ivey needs to wear number 38 next year, and I'm all about that. Jared Ivey, he probably is the perfect person to wear number 38, either him or J.J. Pegues. I think that J.J. Pegues, being as an Oxford guy, could end up wearing that number. Interesting. Let's see. We're about to wrap this up. Ken Bush says, I appreciate your show. Listen every morning here in Montana. Thank you very much, Ken. Good game, Big Zay. Matthew Mitchell took my friend to the Peach Bowl. It was his first college game. We got there before the gates opened, and everyone was excited. It was honestly refreshing to see Penn State fans leaving in the third quarter. Yeah, very much so. And Tampa Zeke, Rebel fans better start saving their money. Next season is going to be expensive with all the bowl games we're going to have to play in, because there's more than one potentially next year. You got the home playoff game that they're trying to do, and then it's bowl game, national championship game. Should be quite interesting indeed. So, Dalen, thank you very much for joining the show tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. We're going to basically put this over on the audio channel as well. But thanks, Dalen, and we'll see you next week, bud.
Appreciate you, man, for having me. Enjoy it tonight. Howdy, y'all.